What is up? What is up? We are going to get into the top DPS of week 1 Molten Core. I have the logs pulled up. Now, it's important to understand that when we look at these logs, for the first week of Molten Core, a lot of people don't have world buffs. Now, some people will have world buffs for like 1 or 2 bosses, but there's very few people, I think, in the world who just like cleaned Molten Core without dying. Because no one knew the mechanics or anything like that. So next week we will have some people that go through, unscathed, but we're going to be looking at Heat 3 specifically for these logs. So we can go ahead actually right now. I see a lot of hunters in that front page, but we'll go ahead and pull up the statistics and we will filter by 95th percentile per usual. And here you go. So right now, looks like survival hunters, affliction warlocks, assassination rogues, and marksman hunters, followed by fire mages, are parsing really well overall. So we'll see if these 5 classes line up on the first front page, and then we can filter it by max for now to see who's really pumping. Okay, and in the max, if you're just taking the top performing classes, you have fury warrior and fire mage. We can change this to a range of 1 week. I don't think it'll change anything, right? How about a day? Okay. So pretty much hunters. Why does it say survival hunter? Is that melee? No, this is melee hunter. Okay, that's interesting. We'll have to take a look and see why it's showing survival hunters on top. I thought survival hunters were a cataclysm thing. So that's interesting. Let's go ahead and go to the rankings. Okay, and it is showing that a lot of these characters are survival hunters on the front page. I guess it's because they're going to improve their traps, and that's why it's showing them as survival. We have 1 marksman hunter here, Driska, and 1 marksman hunter here, Rat, and 1 rogue doing an average of 2,000 DPS per boss. Now, these guys do have world buffs on some of the fights. So let's take a look today. I play Mage. I'm kind of curious to see. We do have a lot of mages in the front page. Here's Bobka. Here's me right here, 57. I was not doing a lot of damage in the raid because I had to go advanced warding for the first boss because we didn't have enough dispels. So a lot of times I'm having to help out with some other things in week 1, whereas week 2 I don't think I'm going to have to do that. But Mage does have to decurse a lot, which really kind of kills our damage. And I think that that's why there's not a lot of mages that are higher up in the DPS list, because hunters don't have to do anything other than just do damage. That being said, we can take a look at what the top hunter in the world is doing. So this is a number 1 hunter in the world. They are going explosive trap, number 1 damage, followed by chimera shots and explosive shots with a few aim shots trickled in there. Okay, let's take a look at his gear. Hunters, for their weapons, it looks like they're using the Bloodseeker crossbow with strength and agi, glaive of the Obsidian Fury. That is a new polearm that's been added to the game. I'm not familiar with that one. And of course, the hunter trinket, that looks good. And then a lot of fire res with the hit trinket from the wild offerings. And that's going to be the basic setup. And then you're going to see a lot of just different fire resistant stuff. And let's see if we compare this to another hunter, if he's rocking pretty much the same thing. Well, this raid is using 3 different hunters. And yeah, more of the same. Explosive trap, chimera shot, followed by aim shot, multi-explosive shot. Okay. And then let's check out some of his damage. Or sorry, his weapons. He's also using Bloodseeker, and he's using a Huntsman Harpoon. Okay. So fairly simple setup. Make sure you get yourself a Bloodseeker if you're a hunter. Trinkets, it looks like hunters are all pretty much using either the Hand of Injustice or the Royal Seal, the 48 attack power for Hunter, or they're using the hit trinket, or they're using a fire extinguisher if they need more fire res. And that's going to be pretty standard, I think, for most hunters. We have a Shadow Priest that's doing really, really well. Shadow Priest surprisingly absolutely cranking in the raids. They're doing way more damage than I thought. You can see Josito Jones right here, a PvPer in our raid. A PvP main. He is cranking in the raid as Shadow Priest, doing his absolute worst. He's rocking double fire resist trinkets. So he doesn't even have any gear yet, and he's already beating Sarth in damage, a legendary hunter from a world first push. So you can see that we do have Shadow Priest is one of the more fun classes to play in this expansion, and they are cranking in the raids. One warrior, how did he get here? This guy, Sisu, is coming out of nowhere, holding it down for the warriors. A lot of warriors are complaining that their class doesn't do any damage, yet Gon is managing to do it without world buffs. Sisu did use some world buffs on one of the bosses, but he didn't even have Dragon Slayer. So I imagine that warriors will be good. Here's Alondo, of course. He has he's doing 1500 DPS, no world buffs. This is overall damage. Mages do crank. Like I said, I'm doing 1500 DPS, and I haven't even begun to start trying to do damage yet. We're literally just doing mechanics in week 1, so I'm hoping to push this closer to 2000 next week. Okay, let's take a look at the mages, and then we'll check out each class and see, you know, which classes are using what trinkets. Looks like the majority of mages in the top are using Briarwood Reed and Eye of the Beast. I opted to go with the Breath of the Beast for more hit, but traditionally mages will always take damage over hit, and they'll just gamble. So I think that it makes sense that the top mages probably aren't using Breath of the Beast. They're probably just stacking damage. So Briarwood Reed, Eye of the Beast is going to be more than likely the way to go. Mages only need 4% hit on their gear, but most mages that are going to top parse will probably be running under that, and they'll just pridge that they don't miss the boss. And then, of course, if you scroll down, you're going to have mages that are running like miniaturized combustion for fire res, and then different ways like Blazing Emblem and things like that to try and get their fire res up. Blazing Emblem is a great option if you need fire res. You just throw it on as an extra trinket. But the top DPSers, it looks like they're all using Briarwood Reed, Eye of the Beast. Okay. Most people are using Balefire Bolt. I use Balefire Bolt on almost every fight except for the first fight. So this is probably just showing the first fight where I took Advanced Warding so that I could dispel, and then I was Frostfire Bolting. Balefire Bolt definitely does more damage. You have to be careful. You can only cast 9 of them. Let's take a look at the rogues. The rogues have been absolutely cranking in the raids as well. And for the rogue DPS, double fire res trinket. Oh, actually, the rogue trinket gives 2% chance to hit and 10 fire res. That is a fantastic trinket. Yeah, if I was playing rogue, definitely this would be mandatory. And a miniaturized fire extinguisher looks like obviously the way to go. Most people are using that for the 20 fire res. Some rogues opting to go with Royal Seal and Hodge. Looks like a very popular combo here. Bobka and R-Raid is throwing on extra fire res. But I think that every rogue, once they get enough fire res, they will probably be falling back, and they will be going for the Hodge Royal Seal combo. That seems like it's very good. And let's see top rogue, what he's doing primarily. Let's check out what weapons he's using. Top rogue is using Fell Striker and Distracting Dagger, and the offhand, a 1.3 speed dagger to apply those poisons very quickly with a Satire Bow for the extra hit. And he's actually got a Puissant cape, and of course, he's rocking the 4-piece Dark Mantle, which is probably mandatory. And then he's got some Devil Core 2 set there, which is big damage. All right, so the rogues, there you go. Now you know what to do if you want to do big damage as a rogue. Fire mages, it's mainly just gear and rotation. It's mainly Balefire Bolt to 9 stacks. Shadow Priests are a surprising one. We can take a look at what some of the Shadow Priests are doing for their gear. Primarily their damage is Mind Seer. There's a lot of AoE in Molten Core, so you can't just go a full single target build. You need to have an AoE spec available as well for like Major Domo and Sulfuron, which is a 6 target and a 4 target fight. I like that a lot, that it's not just a single target show the whole entire time. I like that you can AoE a lot of bosses in this raid, and it keeps the overall DPS competitive. I think warriors are pretty much favored in this raid overall, like in the long run with full world buffs and gear, because warriors are fantastic for target cleave, and they can really shine in that specific space, and they're also really good at single targets. So we might actually see warriors on top at the end of this phase again, before it's all over with. And let's check out the gear on this guy. He's rocking the Drakestone Nightmare, Torch of Austin for fire resist. He's got the Mind Fang. Very nice. Brilliant Chromatic Cloak with... That is a BOE. And he's got 20 fire res on that as well. Fire Extinguisher, Briarwood Reed. A lot of people using the Reed. And the Draconic Emblem from Dracasath, an on-use trinket. Interesting. 1 minute, 30-second cooldown on that. So maybe that lines up with his cooldowns really well for Shadow Priest. Let's go ahead and check out what the majority of Shadow Priests are using in the overall. It looks like Briarwood Reed, Fire Extinguisher. Most priests are using Fire Extinguisher and Draconic Infused Emblem. So for priests, you're going to want to, Shadow Priest, you're going to want to grab one of these Draconic Infused. Seems like the 1 minute, 30-second cooldown might be lining up with some of their abilities really well. And so that's going to be important for you to push your max DPS as a Shadow Priest. Posito Jones not even using it. He's mainly using double fire resist trinkets. But like I said, when we start to get more gear and more fire res, we're going to be able to put on DPS trinkets, and we should be absolutely cranking in the raid as the weeks go on. Who's another top performer? We can look at a couple more classes that are performing. We looked at rogues. Did we look at warriors overall? What trinkets they're using? So obviously all Fury Warriors and a couple of Gladiator Warriors sneaking their way into the bottom here. Not doing anywhere near as much damage as Fury Warrior, however. And Hodge and Fire Extinguisher. Accursed Chalice. This is a new one from the Demonfall Canyon dungeon. And it is supposed to be top simming for Warriors and along with Hodge. So I imagine these are the two trinkets you're going to want to get your hands on right now. For parsing in the raids, once you hit enough fire res. So this is absolutely the way to go. And I just really like this meta of having to balance fire res with your gear. And like the more gear that you get, the more damage you can do, because then you can put on more DPS. And so it's kind of a fun balancing system. And I think this is really what Classic is about, is balancing like your hit with your crit and, getting to your soft caps, and then deciding whether it's just another thing that you have to balance into your gear, which is really what makes the classic gearing so exciting in comparison to like retail, which is like, okay, what 2 stats do I want? Verse haste. Okay, well this one doesn't have verse haste, so I don't want that item. Like this balancing hit, crit, intellect, stamina, defense, and balancing now fire res in there as well. It really makes your gearing process exciting, and you can throw millions of different combos together to make your gear. And I really am having a great time with SOD Phase 4 in that regard. Let's take a look at one more top performing class. Who is so obviously the winners. We did not take a look at the Warlocks. So the Warlocks and the Feral Druids are also doing really well. And it looks like we have maybe 1 or 2 enhancement shamans. Here's Wave from our raid. He's doing a lot of damage. So let's take a look at these classes really quickly. There's several different types of Warlocks. We have Affliction competing with Demonology and Destruction locks. So every type of lock, and then we even have Metamorphosis locks doing 800 DPS. So, wow. Every type of Warlock is doing pretty well in Heat 3. 1600 DPS, look like Affliction is the top. Here's Water doing a ton of damage. He was in my Onyxia raid the other day, and he was pulling threat off the tanks a lot. So he looks like they're going with Affliction with the Haunt build, rocking the Royal Seal for the fire res and an Extinguisher, or maybe the Draconic Infused Emblem. A lot of classes finding benefit with that 1.5 minute cooldown from the Draconic Emblem. Take Note TV opting to go with Draconic Emblem and Briarwood Reed. That is probably going to be your top combos. if you're a Warlock. Let's take a look at Shaman. And we have the Hodge for enhancement Shamans with a Fire Extinguisher or a Cursed Chalice. So same setup for Warriors and Enhanced Shamans. You guys are probably going to want to get your hands on the Accursed Chalice and the Hand of Justice. That's going to be probably your top setup. Wave opting to go with both of those here. Let's take a look at the last top performing class that I saw, which, well, I don't see any Paladins on the homepage. We saw Ferals. So Feral DPS looking pretty good. Boomy's not looking too bad, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to compete with Ferals this tier. And Ferals, of course, they will be needing an Accursed Chalice as well. Wow, this trinket is really simming well for all of the melee classes. So Accursed Chalice looking to be BIS for all the classes. And it looks like everyone is kind of just rocking a... For weapon damage here, everyone's just rocking a Fire Extinguisher for the most part in Heat 3. But wow, every single Feral rocking the Accursed Chalice. And the second trinket is kind of up in the air right now. It looks like Ferals are down bad on Fire Res, so everyone just needing Fire Res. We'll have to see which trinket kind of shines to the top once Ferals are able to drop their Fire Extinguisher trinket. But for right now, get your hand on an Accursed Chalice if you're a Feral Druid. And just for the heck of it, we might as well take a look at Paladins. Let's see what the Rets are doing. The Rets in the just breaking the 1K range, some of the Rets are able to, and they are going with, oh, he's Exalted with Hydraxid Waterlord. He's got the trinket here. Oh, because he's from Noda, of course. They're all Exalted. Hand of Justice is #1 for Paladins. Looks like a Cursed Chalice Hand of Justice for every single melee in the game is going to be the best combo setup. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much it for the top DPS of the week. Let's take a look at the breakdown one more time. Survival Hunters, Affliction Locks, Fire Mages, Assassin Rogues, Marksman Hunters. We don't have a ton of people that actually competed in Heat 3. If we change this down to Heat 1, a little bit more of the same. We have probably a few more logs to choose from Heat 1. So Fire Mages, Rogues, and Hunters just absolutely blasting. And the Survival Hunters that probably take the damage from the traps are going to be shining a little bit harder than everybody else. I'm going to be doing a top DPS of the week breakdown every single week. We'll be following along with the Season of Discovery class balances and the changes. We'll look at who's using what trinkets and who's trying to break the game on World of Warcraft logs. If you like these videos, hit subscribe. I'm Sardako. I stream live on Twitch every day at 4 p.m. Central Time, and I'll see you then. Peace.